Welcome to Inspiring Teachers, a show bringing you classroom tips, motivation, and stories from successful educators. Join Tavis Beam and Danny Hogger as they explore the why of teaching.
That day, I'm so glad we rescheduled her and didn't just be like, oh, whatever.
Mm-hmm. What about the other one that didn't work?
We'll get going. I'll edit it and send you the link. We're probably going to launch it in late February, if that's okay with you.
Of course. Yeah,
Perfect.
Sure.
All right, we'll get started. Let's see. There's one thing I wanted. Recording here. Make sure. Always good to have a backup as well. I in college, I was recording with Green Day, and I had them in studio, which was a big arrangement for me. I had two backup computers, and I went into the soundproof booth. We're recording. The computer has a power outage in one room and loses the first recording. Both backups. Students came in, logged me out, and started just browsing the net. And I'm like,
Oh, no.
I could see it ending, but I couldn't leave the interview. And it was like a crazy form of punishment. So we'll hope that we don't get punished. So I'll start recording right here. I'm just making sure that backup's rolling just fine. And we'll start in 3, 2, 1. Welcome into a brand new edition of Inspiring Teachers. I'm Danny Hogger, and I'm alongside Tavis Beam. Tavis, how's it going?
I'm wonderful today. How are you?
Good woodshop day today?
Great woodshop day.
I almost found myself in how much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck.
I thought you were going to say that. Good woodchucking today?
Oh, good grief. I hope we have more luck with words today. Mike Mohammad is here. His Twitter profile totally hooked me. I'm like, we got to have this guy on the show. It says that he hated science so much he became a science teacher, and his passion and love is all over his blog at mophysics, moproblems.blogspot.com, and at mo_physics on Twitter. Mike, thanks for making time for us today.
Oh, thanks for the invitation. Very excited to join you guys.
Yeah, I got to tell you, like, if there's something about writing a good hook, you nailed it, and it got us totally intrigued and excited. What is your journey into education? Tell us about the pathway to getting to become a science teacher.
Yeah, you know what? It really started, both my parents are immigrants from Pakistan, and, they immigrated here, and growing up in a small town in Wisconsin, basically, like many first-generation immigrant children, one thing that we'll probably all have in common is that our parents want us to be something that they think describes success, whether it be a doctor, lawyer, engineer. Sure. So clearly was going to be prepared to be on the doctor path, and that's what I was going to be. No questioning that at all. It was just what I was born to be, apparently. And I played the game of school great. Was really good at all my classes, but, took science. I did really well in science, but, had no passion for it. My passion was actually in the language arts, and I really loved that, the ability to be creative and explore different areas. And, science was just a class where I sat and listened and just regurgitated and performed very well. Mm-hmm. It really wasn't until I got to the college level that I really kind of understood that science is more than just hearing someone else talk to you about facts, where you could actually get into the lab and explore and do just interesting things, like the idea that in a physiology lab that we took a frog's muscle and stimulated and actually saw it move and understood what actually makes us work as human beings and as people, inhabitants of the planet Earth and the universe we live in, and understanding that by doing, not just sitting and hearing facts that are told to you. So
yeah. I remember when I was teaching science, I would say that science is a noun, so it's something that you can learn, but it's also a verb. It's something that you can do. So you can recreate Faraday's great experiment of giving electrical shocks to frog legs to see them jump and understand the universe better.
Oh, yes, 100%. So, when I was in college, the idea of pre-med isn't a major. So my major was actually, since I loved English so much, and was really good at school, good at the game of school. I performed very well at the set rules and followed the rules to the best of my ability, because that was kind of hammered into me, and did secondary education English because, I would never be a teacher, of course, because I was going to be a doctor, but I enjoyed English and was able to take a lot of English credits. But then at some point, I kind of did some volunteer work in local ER and just realized this is not for me. And it was taking that leap to realize, okay, this is my life and my journey, and, it's about me. And my parents accepted that, and they realized, okay, ultimately understanding that my happiness was probably my greatest sense of security in my life and the greatest satisfaction for them. And they accepted the fact that I really wanted to go into education. And with my love of science at the college level, I realized, well, why can't I go back and really instill this love of science at the high school level or before students get into college?
And what do you think that difference was between high school and college? What really sparked it for you?
It's really that connection to our lives, and really that that anatomy and physiology course really did it for me. This teacher was able to give us real life examples of, okay, when you do this, here's what's happening. And you can see those direct connections to your life, as opposed to some facts you're reading in a book and that are living in ancient history, or you can't even conceive of because they're so removed from your daily life.
Those types of things really have a big impact on students as well. Do you want to
ignore my rudeness? I've been waiting for a camera for 4 days. You know, when you miss deliveries, we'll edit this part out.
Yeah, we'll just keep talking. I did rat dissections with students, and I worked in a low-income area, and a lot of the other teachers were like, "You're going to give these kids scalpels and scissors and a dead rat, and you're going to let them." But that really was like one of the more valuable experiences for them. And they would come back to me and say, "Oh my goodness, I remember when we did rat dissection." They forgot everything else I taught them, but the memory of doing the rat dissection was so vivid with them. And the trust as well. I feel like, I only had one incident that was bad in the entire time that I did rat dissections with kids. And that could have happened at any time.
And that's really a huge thing with this idea of dissection.
It wasn't my camera, it was my wife.
Oh, okay.
Disappointing, man.
Oh, no, don't be disappointed.
No, I'm just kidding. Those are the little moments of joy that we get, that as a teacher, I find so rewarding. Like the little unplanned things. For me, if I'm not dynamic and entertaining in the room, I'm always fearful that I'll have a student in the room that will be the bored one. With history, if you're not going to bring it alive somehow, or tie it around to why it's important to know now, which I think is very important about science nowadays, to validate how important this is to us as global citizens. But if I can pop off something like that you don't expect, and it calls you back to interest, and if you can enjoy the person you're in the classroom with, I feel like then you can really hook them in. You can learn anything together.
Yes.
And I'm out of breath, so a fitness plan would probably be a good idea right now. One flight of stairs, and it's like, but I wonder, what do you find that gives you a workout when you're a science teacher? What do you look for to keep pushing your own boundaries? And like, what can I teach them that will hook them in? Like maybe a lesson that you've done recently where you brought in something to just elevate that level of the lesson that you can share with us?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is this year, we actually got a fabrication lab within. We got a grant for a fabrication lab within our building, and I co-teach a couple of sections of physics with Andy Espinosa. She's my co-teacher, and we service fully inclusive classroom students across the board. And we were able to push. We used to do a lab with spheros, in which students built a chariot for the spheros, and the spheros are programmed robots that just roll around. And it's something we would have the students usually build a chariot out of things like, okay, popsicle sticks, plastic cups, CDs. But this time we took it a step further, and we decided to, okay, we're going to go to the fabrication lab and have students actually 3D print pieces for their chariot and actually use our laser cutters and actually cut. So they're using new skills with this new technology to actually push it a step further. So this isn't a part of our science curriculum using these tools, but this is a great opportunity for them to actually, okay, go to a different part of the building and actually use these tools that probably be much more relevant to them than some of the random facts that we're going to learn in the class. This ability to create and work on a machine they have no clue about and actually produce something, which is pretty amazing.
And the engagement is so high because it's inherently interesting. They're going to be activated and stimulated to really participate. What a wonderful opportunity, definitely.
Yeah. And again, when they're working as teams and dividing up those tasks into different parts and, meeting deadlines and managing their own project is really huge too.
Pretty cool stuff. Thanks for sharing that. What do you think, at the end of the year or a term, when your students are leaving your classroom, what's something you wish you would have imparted to them that you hope they'll walk away with from you specifically, besides all the great science knowledge?
Well, really, it is knowing themselves as a learner. And that's one of the biggest things that I kind of advocate for. At the end of the course, whether or not you remember every single fact, that is not the biggest thing. The biggest thing is from the next course on, have you learned something from me and the opportunities for choice that we've given you in this class to know how you learn best? And then advocate for yourself going further. Are you able to know your strengths, communicate them, and remember some of the tools that we use that actually led you to success, and advocate for that at the next level, or even once you get to college when you don't have that choice, these tools that you can always come back to and work for you. So okay, let's say this lecture didn't make any sense. The fact that, all right, I know where I can go on the internet to YouTube, Khan Academy, or something that I know helps me. So when I come back, I'll be more prepared. Even though this lecture didn't really help me at all, I was able to find some tools that could help.
That they can go and be proactive and find the information, because it is out there now.
Yeah.
I was wondering, is there a scientist that inspires you? Is there somebody whose career really gets you going and sparks that interest in you?
Well, I just think it seems pretty basic, but I just think Isaac Newton. He's one of the ones that, when the fact that his laws have really sustained us for such a long period of time, and that
really set something in motion there.
Yes, we did.
Sorry,
we did.
I have to.
The apple doesn't fall very far from the
tree. And that was a low-hanging apple I wanted to pull. Please continue. He did started everything. I just had to get that.
Yeah, I think they're just so fundamental, and the fact that we can say these words, but students haven't thought about them. But when they actually think about his 3 laws of motion, the idea that, oh, okay, these make really great sense and perfect sense, and that they're almost poetry in some sense to our students, that they can recite and actually have meaning.
And it is really amazing how much he did, how much fundamental science he created, and how wrong he was about so many other branches of science as well. His work in alchemy and what they called chemistry at the time, he was just absolutely wrong about. And I think that that's also a great lesson about Newton, is here you can have somebody whose laws are still so fundamental to all the science that we do. But part of science is getting things wrong. And we dispose of all these old ideas, and we keep the ones that are valuable, that have been tested over and over again.
That's really good. It's almost like a chemistry experiment when you have all the byproduct that gets like wiped off on the paper and the filter, and you keep whatever the gold is that you were seeking to produce. And that's, I think, what we can learn from all kinds of people. Even historically speaking, there's been many people who've been ahead of the curve, like Henry Ford, for example, on the production line of mechanization, but who you wouldn't maybe want to echo or demonstrate or replicate every aspect of his life, or Walt Disney, so there's a great deal of wealth to be gained from almost everyone if we're willing to look and see different parts. I like that takeaway as well. That would inspire me out of our conversation. And you've inspired us a lot, Mike. Tell people where they can find your blog and your Twitter and everything else so that they can learn more from you and what you're doing. There's a lot of really great posts recently on your blog. I like it a lot.
Oh, thank you. So my blog's at mophysicsmoproblems.blogspot.com. And, I've been posting a little less recently because I'm teaching an overload right now, but I hope to get back into the swing of it, but try to keep it up. And then on Twitter, I'm at mo_physics.
Very cool.
Very nice.
Very
Thank you so much.
We're very grateful. If you ever have a big lesson coming up you want to talk about, or a blog that you'd like to discuss, we'd love to have you back again. Thanks for sharing a lot about what inspires you to teach. And thanks for not letting your dislike for the way a subject was presented at your time. You're fixing that. You are the remedy. You are 2.0, and we're glad for that. So thanks for being our guest today on Inspiring Teachers.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you again so much for having me and all that you're doing.
Oh, absolutely. And Tavis, thanks a lot for being here again.
I always enjoy it, Dan.
Yeah,
Thank you for having me.
I make them. I'm just kidding. It's a partnership, and that's what's cool about this whole deal, is that we are a community that's trying to elevate and show people how much hard work and dedications go in for teachers all over. But for today, that's it for us, and we'll see you on the next edition of Inspiring Teachers, and class is dismissed.